You're listening to the ESO Network, your station for all things geek.
Ian, look at this.
What, it's a police box? What on earth's he doing here? I mean, these things are usually on the street. I feel it. Feel it, you feel it?
Faint vibration.
It's alive.
Earth Station Who, a fun mashup celebrating nearly 50 years of the Doctor Who universe. Hold tight. You never know where the TARDIS is going next.
Blossom, yes, blossom. That's the only sad thing. I want to know what happens next. Right then. Doctor whoever I'm about to be. Tag. You're it.
I know these teeth. What? What?
Hey there, Whovians, and welcome to another episode of the Earth Station Who podcast. That's right, folks, we are back, and we are going back to the Tom Baker era. We are looking at the Sunmakers. An interesting story with Leela and the Doctor visiting Pluto, which back then was a planet. You know, stuff it, Neil deGrasse Tyson. That's all I
Take that.
Yeah. The Doctor visited the planet Pluto, not the proto-planet. So,
the dwarf planet.
Dwarf planet Pluto. So it's pretty cool. It'll be very interesting to see where we go with this and our thoughts on it. We got a great crew, as you could tell. We have, of course, Mary Ogles here.
Hi, everybody. It is fantastic to be here.
And Mr. Mike Gordon is here.
Howdy.
All right, folks. We've got a good one. So we got a little bit of Doctor Who news. We got an announcement, actually, of a new actor who is going to be in the new season of Doctor Who. We are going to be welcoming to Doctor Who Jinx Monsoon.
Yay.
Jinx Monsoon is very well known here in the States, actually, especially for fans of RuPaul. So it's pretty cool.
Yeah, I think she's won it twice.
Twice, which is pretty cool. And Drag Race is such an awesome show. So it's pretty cool.
I think that is RTD's thumbing of all the anti-drag laws
I think it's
happening
fantastic
in the U.S. And,
It's really great news this time for right now, currently. Yeah, sure.
Yes.
At any time, really. But
yeah, no, I agree with that.
I think it's very pointed. I think he's deliberately making that casting decision. I mean, but this doesn't take anything away from Jinx Monsoon, who is a great singer and actor and very well known and established.
Mm-hmm. She is amazing, and I think she's going to be a great addition to the cast. And it's yet to be seen if she's going to be recurring or if it's just a one and done type character. So
yeah, all they said in the press release was that it was a major role in the new series. So
yeah, that could mean anything.
That could mean anything.
Exactly. So I'm all for it, and I would love to see some, shake up, or maybe some, established character come back in Jinx playing that character. Few folks have mentioned even the Ronnie, possibly.
Yeah, I think she'd make a great Ronnie.
Yeah. She's already over the top, so it's perfect. So I think it would be totally cool for that. And you know what? let's see what happens. All for, fresh blood and new takes on characters. And it doesn't matter who plays. And, I'm very happy to see, people talking about Doctor Who. And I think that's part of the way he's going to do it is by bringing in fresh characters, fresh actors, and, fresh stories. You're going to get people talking about Doctor Who on news sites, on, gossip sites, on Reddit, on Twitter, on, Instagram, all the different, ways we're talking about it, getting it out there and, keeping Doctor Who fresh in people's minds. Like, hey, it's only now till November that we're going to be talking about Doctor Who.
Yep, coming up fast.
Exactly.
I mean,
So
RTD is just so much more savvy at marketing than, definitely more savvy than the BBC. So.
Oh, sure.
Well, I think anybody's more savvy.
That's a low bar.
Yeah.
That's a pretty low bar.
That is true.
Mm-hmm. Very much so. Very, very much so. So I think that's pretty cool. And that's the big news, other than for folks here in the southeast of the United States. Folks who are going to Dragon Con, they've started announcing some guests. And one of the first ones they've announced is a doctor and her companion. Who could that be? Why, it's the Doctor and Yaz. That's right.
Woo-hoo.
We're getting Jodie Whittaker coming to Dragon Con. I think that's pretty awesome. And I think it's awesome that, that was the first announcement that they made. And, and it's going to be great to get Mandip Gill. And I think she's great. And I think it's pretty awesome. And, we were talking about it before we went on the air about how this is the 60th anniversary of Doctor Who, and Dragon Con better pick up its Doctor Who game this year, especially compared to like last year.
Oh, it was sad last year.
Well, they just did.
Well,
I mean, compared to the last few years, that's it. They don't have to do anything else. They just did.
No, but they're losing face in a lot of ways compared to some of the other cons that have been around that have been getting more Doctor Who guests than Dragon Con has over the last few years.
I don't think they've had a dip in attendance at all. I don't think it's affected them in any sort of way.
I don't think so either. But for Doctor Who fans, it's been high and dry. That's been a dribble here and a dribble there. No, it hasn't hurt the attendance. But how much of the attendance is Doctor Who based? But look at Pensacon. They're not a Doctor Who con, and they had 6 doctors there. So it was pretty amazing. And, companions, they had Barrowman, they had, the companions to match up with the doctors. So it was pretty awesome.
Yeah, I mean, that was really cool. I mean, it's so rare now, especially with a lot of the Doctor Who conventions not being around, especially in the Southeast. So, I mean, it's great that somebody is kind of, it remains to be seen whether this happens next year with Pensacon. How many Doctor Who guests are they going to have next year? They certainly didn't have many the year before.
No,
yeah,
but they were doing it specifically for the 60th anniversary.
Yeah, I think it was all about the 60th anniversary.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a smaller con. It's only got so much money. They probably have to kind of decide where their focus is going to be for their guests.
Exactly. And, I'm also impressed that, Dragon Con is also getting, it looks like they're going to be having a Firefly reunion because it's the 20th anniversary of Firefly.
Oh, that's awesome.
So,
yeah, they've got 3 of those, folks.
Mm-hmm. I'm sure we'll be seeing more in the next couple weeks. So, should be a kind of fun to do also. And good luck to anyone who's going to be there. Enjoy.
Well, I am going to be there. I got my letter of agreement as a guest this week, and all filled out and submitted. So, all signed, sealed, approved. So I just have to. It'll be a few days, I guess, and I'll be on the website. But yes, it's official that I will be a guest once again at Dragon Con.
You will be representing the ESO network.
This will be my 30th Dragon Con in a row.
Wow.
And not always as guest. That's only been the last, I think, 10 years or so. But yeah, it's still, I still don't take it for granted. It's still one of my favorite things to do. I got my whole year usually based around it. So
nice. Very,
That's
very
awesome.
nice. Yep. That's pretty cool. It's, a lot of fun for those who go, and 18 years straight for me. So this will be really interesting. So
It'll be strange.
it'll be strange, but we've got some great things planned for that weekend. So it'll be awesome.
Yeah. Still going to be fun.
Yep. So it'll be interesting to see what we got going on with further guests and everything. And as Dragon Con gets closer, we, of course, will be keeping up with the guests and telling you fine folks here. So definitely. And
yes,
of course,
and plus, but you can also tune into the Dragon Con report.
That's where I was going next. So, and let's always listen to the Dragon Con. Also, it is here on the ESO network, and it's going to be a blast to hear what you guys have, going forward with the con. And cool. So other than that, mostly, some big Finish news here and there, and there hasn't been any more casting announcements for any of the spin-offs or anything else yet. But I know for those here in the UK, Blue Peter is supposed to have some new Doctor Who news coming up on the 22nd of April, and it's about the series, not about any kind of big Finish or anything. So
Yay.
it should be interesting. Maybe there's a new trailer or something that they'll be showing on it.
Yeah.
So I'm, and it's it's just under 6 months before, it comes out. So it's right about time for that. So I'm looking forward to it. So very cool. So definitely, folks, we definitely would love to hear from you guys. Feedback at ourstationwho.com. If you have anything you guys want to talk about, or let us know if we've missed any news that you guys have heard, definitely let us know. We're going to take a quick break, and we'll be back in a moment to go into the Sunmakers.
Welcome to Earth Station Trek, a show that talks about Star Trek, from the early days on NBC to the future on Paramount Plus and everywhere in between. We cover topics like
Star Trek versus reality,
did the Borg get better or worse?
Finding the good in bad episodes,
pop culture in Trek,
Star Trek pets,
Vulcan romance,
religion in Trek,
Umox for fun and pleasure,
Kirk versus Picard, and why Sisko is better.
plus reviews of all the latest episodes. Check us out on your favorite podcast platform or the ESO network.
Everyone these days could use a little support, and your friends at the ESO Network are no different. With the ESO Network Patreon, the cool thing is when you help support us, it's you who will benefit. With 4 tiers starting for as little as 25 cents a week, you can listen to some of your favorite network podcasts early, hear exclusive content, maybe get some ESO swag, or even possibly take a shot at the geek seat. All you need to do is sign up at patreon.com/ESO Network.
Welcome back to Earth Station Who, and now we are going back to the year 1977. The 26th of November till the 17th of December. Thank goodness it was only 4 parts, folks. It was an interesting Tom Baker story, and Louise Jameson as Leela as the companion, and John Leeson as the voice of K9. You got a lot of K9 in this one. I was actually really surprised.
Yeah, there was a ton of K9 in this one.
Yeah, It's interesting because when he, in the beginning, he has K9 stay with the TARDIS, and you kind of think, okay, this is going to be a K9 light up story, but it turns out to be actually the opposite. I think actually all 3, the Doctor and Leela and K9, have really good moments in this story.
Yeah,
Very much so.
I mean, I actually kind of enjoyed this one.
Oh, very much so. It's interesting, too, because it feels like they're running around the basement of the BBC the whole time.
Yeah. Well, they're running around the basement of a tobacco factory.
Yeah,
In
really.
Bristol.
They went cheap on sets on this one.
It's
folks.
kind of appropriate,
they
though.
always go cheap on sets.
Yeah, I mean, it's appropriate
Especially this
because
era.
it looks like kind of a sterile, sort of grungy industrial
Mhm.
city thing.
Yeah, and it doesn't look like a set.
Oh, no.
It seems like they filmed almost everything on location with a few things that, obviously are sets. But, I mean, it has a look to it that is unlike a lot of the other stories.
Yeah, I think it actually works for this one. I mean,
yeah, me too.
That's what they're going for. The kind of bleak, office industrial type of look.
Mhm.
Absolutely.
Exactly. And I loved, when the guy was going to jump off the roof of the complex, it's like, it's 1,000 feet down. And it's like, it's probably like a 3-story building or something like that. So
he sells it.
Oh,
Yeah.
very much so. Very much so. And it's an interesting story. The doctor, it's interesting because the doctor feels like is in control the whole time. And it's like he was almost like one step ahead of everybody in this one. And
There is no waffling at all. He just barrels right in and knows what he's doing.
Yeah, I mean that's Tom though. That's Tom's doctor. The Fourth Doctor rarely it seems like he's not in control of things or not the smartest one in the room. He is punched in the gut a few times here where that team
he gets beaten up.
Yeah, which takes him back a bit. But he shows tremendous resolve when a quote unquote hot poker is just inches away from his eyes. So
yeah, I mean that was actually a pretty horrifying scene. I'm thinking, wow, this is one for the kids.
It's interesting because the rebels who are quote unquote the good guys or whatever, really are pretty violent gang of folks that seem to be only interested in themselves. I don't know what kind of real great government or society they're going to form after the Doctor leaves, but
yeah, they are not nice people.
No, they are not at all. I can't see that lasting too long, but I wish one thing I wish we got to know them a little bit more. They do focus, I think, a lot more on the corporation guys than they do the quote unquote, good guys or the rebels or whatever, the oppressed. I mean, we get to see them in like broad strokes, but we don't really get to know them, I don't think.
Yeah, you get to know Cordo a little more.
Yeah. We see him. He's the first one we see. But you pretty much know him like right from that first scene. He's a nervous guy. He's being oppressed for sure, and he's not very brave or whatever. And he goes through a transformation where he becomes like, I don't know, he almost becomes like psychotic, like with violence by the end.
Oh God, shooting the gun in the air and let's go.
He's like, let me go after him. Let me go after him. I'll go get him. Whereas before he was like, I'll just stay in my little box.
Exactly.
Yeah, but he's drugged before.
Yeah, well, that's true. That's true.
Yep.
I mean,
they are all drugged in the Undercity and all that. It's true. Yeah. So
it kind of makes sense that coming out of that, you might tip a little more towards the other way. I mean, Cordo's just lost his father. I mean, he's going through all this grief anyway, and then he's been attacked so much he wants to kill himself. So I think that actually Cordo's a pretty interesting character because even when he is drugged and very anxious and afraid, and obviously afraid, he still tries to do the right thing. I mean, he tries to help out. So I kind of find him a pretty strong character. I agree that the rebels aren't very developed.
The rebels are not likable at all.
No,
there's nothing to
not really.
Support behind them.
They don't. Yeah, they don't. Even the woman there who, she's just not likable at all. Which is a shame because I think the actress is pretty good. But
they're just all pretty selfish.
And one of the guys ends up actually on Blake 7, right, as a cast member. So
Michael Keating.
But, to be honest with you, in this, he didn't stand out to me at all.
Didn't do much.
No, he was background guy number 2,
Yeah.
Pretty much. Pretty much. Especially when you compare, the collector and the gatherer, they're they are over the top and they just suck all the energy out of every room, which is fun. They are great performances by both guys. I really like them here. But there's no real balance on the other side. They get all the weight of this episode, whereas the Rebellion doesn't really get a lot of attention as much.
No, not at all. And because usually this is the era of Star Wars, folks. You're used to seeing rebellions who you guys root for and everything.
Yeah, that is
these rebels you don't know.
Yeah, but this only came. But this only came out 6 months after Star Wars, so it's not 6 or 7 months after Star Wars. So it's not like it was that hugely influential here.
You're
you're
still rooting for them, though.
Oh yeah, well sure,
because
you're always rooting against the tax man.
Yeah, you're
of course.
It's all against the man.
Yeah,
exactly.
And for folks who complain that Doctor Who is, in the modern age is too political, this is an episode right in front of you from 1977 where they're taking a dig at society in the UK.
But it is. It's very similar to issues that we're all still facing in society today. Corporate entities that are basically, the sort of the evil, faceless corporation. This is basically, they're both like the collector and gatherer. They're middle managers.
Oh, sure.
And they're just they'll do anything to serve their corporate overlords, and they do not care at all about. The people
they don't care about
doing
people.
the real work.
Care about the bottom line.
Right.
Well, it's because it's even interesting that tying into this last week on John Oliver, he was doing a segment about HOAs, and it seemed very similar to where this story was coming from, how they nickel and dime you for everything, and they tax you on late fees, or if you're late, if your yard isn't right, they fine you. If you drive through the neighborhood too fast, they'll fine you. It was literally, oh wait, your father died, we're going to tax you on that, and then the burial tax, and then oh wait, then there's all these new taxes that we just came up with, and it's like, and it's the same thing, what John Oliver was doing, which was, it was kind of ironic at that point that they were doing at that point.
It's also what's going on with Ticketmaster, right?
Oh
right
God,
now.
yes.
All the fees, or even just like Airbnb or things like that, where you see one price on the website, and then once you book it, all of a sudden it's this fee and that fee and the other fee, and it's twice as much as you thought it was going to be.
Oh, exactly.
It's true. Yeah, it's true with almost everything now.
Yep.
Especially if you order food from a restaurant or something like that, it's
right.
If you have it delivered, you could spend $30 if you went into the restaurant, but because you're having it sent home, it's a $65 order.
Yeah, exactly.
Sure. Absolutely. Yeah. It's one of those things that's almost embarrassing how still relevant it is, because so little has changed. If anything, it's gotten worse in a lot of ways. But it's in the deft hands of Robert Holmes, who is one of my favorite Doctor Who writers.
Yeah, he's awesome.
I wouldn't put this as his best, but I think it's still pretty solid. And obviously he was, he must have been mad about his own tax issues that he was having at the time, because that's pretty relevant. That's pretty apparent here. But also in the bonus material, Louise Jameson, who says that this is her favorite Doctor Who story that she did. She says that Robert Holmes told her that this was about the corporation was about it was about the BBC. He was targeting the BBC, because apparently at the time he was not getting along with the BBC.
Yeah, well, and there's this whole thing about the BBC coming down on Graham Williams, who's the showrunner at this point, after Philip Hinchcliffe, because Philip Hinchcliffe went dark and they wanted him to lighten it up a bit. And Graham Williams felt very constrained, and that in turn made Robert Holmes feel very constrained.
Sure.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And it was interesting too, because in this story, they even showed what happens, when your debit card is overdrawn really badly.
That was the biggest debit card I have ever seen.
I know.
It was like the size of a VHS tape.
Yeah. Did they have VHS? I don't think they had VHS tapes yet in 77, did they?
Did they? I don't remember having VHS.
I know they had
VHS.
the big. They had the big, thick ones. That
right.
you used.
I don't even know if they had ATMs then.
No, I don't think they had ATMs.
No, that was a precursor to ATMs. I remember like early 80s was the beginning of the ATM period. So.
Or if they did, it was just starting.
Yeah, yeah.
It wasn't widespread.
I know that the original card looked a lot like a Barclays Bank card. So they must have had cards at the time because because the producers made them change it around a little bit so it didn't look as
well. There were credit cards. Yeah,
it looked like a Barclays credit card. Yeah,
gotcha.
Yeah, because credit cards have been around since like the 50s, I think. But and it was mostly like Diners card, or there was other bank cards.
Yeah, there was Diners Club.
Yep.
That's a blast from the past.
It just shows how old we are that we remember that stuff. So it's pretty cool. But yeah, it's interesting that we had that kind of information in the story. Were there any characters that actually stood out to you that you did like?
I like Leela.
No,
I mean,
of course.
I can actually,
other than the Doctor and Leela.
I mean, I can actually see, before we move on, I can actually see why Louise Jameson says this is her favorite story, because she gets some meaty scenes in this with the rebels, especially.
Well, not only that, but in the interview that I was watching on the bonus materials, she says that it's one of her favorites because Robert and the rest of the production crew or whatever made sure that she and Tom were not in as many scenes as they usually are. because
the less she got to see Tom, the happier she was.
Yeah, this is where she's she's not she and Tom are not getting along very well. So her time away from Tom, she has a lot of scenes on her own on this one where that doesn't usually happen. Usually she's pretty much, connected at the hip with the Doctor on most of the stories. So she gets to play around a little bit on her own. But yeah, it does give her, because of which it does give her more agency.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
I could see
she definitely had a lot to do here.
Yeah, she was not a big fan of the scene where she becomes a typical quote unquote lady driver. But
oh God, yes.
Oh yeah.
So she didn't care for that very much. But other than that, yeah, she liked this a lot. And she's pretty feisty. I mean, yes, she is captured and she is saved by the Doctor from death, but from a steaming, which doesn't sound pleasant at all.
No.
No. Ask any lobster, they'll agree with that one.
Exactly. I'm like, ooh, man, that's a horrible way to go.
That is, I mean, this story is actually pretty horrifying if you think about it.
It's pretty violent.
Yeah, there's torture, you got the hot poker, you got the steaming, you got the guy who gets thrown off the roof, though I think everyone's glad to see him go
that was such a great scene.
But it's done with like so little regard for his life at all. They just pick him up and
they're just
toss
very
him.
Gleeful.
I know, they're like, woo, yay, party. Like he's a piñata or something. It's just like, but I do like the performances and the characters of the Collector and the Gatherer. I think they are really fun to watch. They are, I love the fact that, especially in this era of Doctor Who, the actors can just go for it. And be over the top, and it still works. Actually, it works, especially when they're with Tom, working against Tom. It's a great back and forth.
Yeah, it really is. Both of them are really good.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, when I first saw the Collector, the one in the chair.
Yeah.
Yes.
I'm like, uh-oh. Because the way he looks, I'm like, he's going to be way too over the top. But actually, what he does really works.
Oh, very much.
It's just really fun to watch.
And I loved when the collector started shrinking into the chair.
Yes, he basically gets flushed down the chair.
Pretty much,
exactly.
Yes.
Kind of funny. It looked just like a toilet.
Yeah.
He's been sitting on a toilet this entire time.
Well, sitting on his throne, as they like
even
to
though
say.
Even though he's like on this chair, though, I love the fact that, he's constantly moving around. That chair was really mobile. He's going around characters, orbiting them, so to speak. It's just it's so fun. He has such fun with it. And likewise on a different level, Richard Leach, who plays Gather Haight, is really fun to watch too. He's like pompous and over the top. There's no question with these guys whatsoever that they're the bad guys.
Oh yeah,
there's no black and white with them. There's no redemption for these guys.
No, they are awful.
Yeah.
No, when he got thrown off the roof, I didn't feel sorry for him. It was like,
I don't think anybody felt sorry for him.
No. You do kind of, I guess, because she's an underling. You do kind of, you're kind of glad that the woman kind of like, sees what's going on and goes and switches sides,
I didn't trust her even when she changed sides, though.
She seemed like somebody who she saw the way the wind was blowing and she jumped ship.
Exactly.
That's exactly what she
either
did.
Way.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But that's smart.
But it's hard to blame her because look at the environment they grow up in.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. And exactly. And it's just like she was just working her way up in power. She probably would have, taken his role eventually. That's what
my plan.
My favorite bit of story in this, though, is I think it's in the last episode. I can't remember because I watched them all together, but is where the doctor and the collector are chatting, and the doctor's like, "How did you take over humanity? How did you do that?" And he's like, "We just bought them." Like it was just like it was so easy. We don't need war.
Like it wasn't that hard.
We don't need military. We don't need war. We can just buy them. And they went for it because they had ruined their own planets. Their own planet was so bad. They had destroyed it so bad that they just welcomed us to come in and take care of them. First on Mars and then on Pluto.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, they basically just sold themselves into slavery.
Exactly.
Well, exactly. And they even said that, each time they used all the resources up on the planet. And then once the planet was done, they let it go. And the doctor said, so you're going to take them to another after this? And said, no, there's no other place we can take them. This is it.
Yeah.
We don't get a good enough return on investment after this one. So we're just
going
to trash them.
We cut our losses as a lot of businesses do.
Yeah.
So it's interesting with that. And it's like we've been saying, it ties a lot into today's society. So it's pretty cool. And, it's funny because the doctor kept on saying, keep an eye on your dog, Leela. And then when K9 rescued Leela and says, am I a good dog? And he says, whatever. Do you want a bone or something? There's some cute stuff. And I'm glad to see, I thought K9 was awesome in this. I think he was one of my favorite parts, like don't mess with the tin dog.
Yeah, K9 can be annoying sometimes, but not in this one. He's actually used to really good effect. I mean, it makes sense, where he is and what happens with him.
Yeah, it's nice to see the doctor and his two companions written really well in a story.
For a change, yeah.
We don't get that as often as I'd like.
No.
But here,
really hard not to Chibnall bash.
Here we do. I mean, it's probably one of the best K9 stories. It's one of the best Leela stories, and it's not at the detriment of the Doctor. I mean, this is a great Tom story too. He's awesome in this.
Yes, he is. Tom is. No, we said at the beginning, Tom was ahead of the whole story. He was, one step ahead of everybody. And It was interesting too, though, because the collector actually knew of Gallifrey.
Right.
Oh, yes, he just looks it up in his database, and there it is.
Exactly.
And he said that Gallifrey was a class 3 in terms of, I guess, profitability or whatever.
Yeah.
And I'm like, oh, that's interesting. I don't know what the scale is. I don't know if that's out of 10, 5, whatever, but.
Yeah, it sounded like they were just not interested because it wasn't profitable.
Yeah. No, exactly.
Yeah. Doctor has no need for money.
But of course, so it was interesting, and I had fun with it. And any final thoughts before we go ahead and review and rate this one?
I can't think of anything else to remark on. It's just, it's been a long time since we've done a Fourth Doctor story. So
I wouldn't recommend this as the first time you watch the Fourth Doctor, though.
No,
or
or Doctor Who in general. Yeah, I wouldn't.
Yeah.
I wouldn't either.
No,
it's a little too. I don't want to say on the nose because Doctor Who frequently is on the nose. But I don't. It's not. It doesn't have a lot of like great Doctor moments. Like there isn't like really anything in this story that like really is a standout like 5-star thing. It's more like it's just a solid story.
Yeah, it's like a good solid middle of the road story.
Yeah, it's one that nobody talks about, but when you watch it, you're like, this is pretty good.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean,
you don't think about it. You don't.
agree.
Nobody talks about it. Nobody like cosplays it or whatever.
No.
But
Now,
I want to see somebody cosplay as the collector. That would
that would actually be good cosplay. If this came out now, it would probably be canceled on social media, on all at least on Truth Social, because it's about socialism. Because the Doctor's organizing the workers in order to
revolutionize.
Yeah,
exactly. God. All right. 1 out of 5 TARDISes, 1 being the worst, 5 being the best. Mr. Mike, you got to go first tonight.
I'm going to give this one a solid 4. Like I said, it's not a 5-star. There's no 5-star moments on it, but man, it's just really solid and fun to watch. So yeah, 4 for the Fourth Doctor.
Okay, Mary.
I'm also going to give it a 4. I mean, it's something that I would say definitely worth watching. I mean, not as an introduction story, but just as a story in general, it's good. I enjoyed it. I was glad that we had this one to watch. So yeah, at least 4.
Okay, because this is literally depths, right in the middle of Tom's run. This is almost like right in the center of it. So he is like set as the Doctor in this. I was originally going to give this one a 3.5, but my love for Leela and for K9 has to move it up to a 4 also. So 4 is all around for everybody. Until it's taxed, and then we have to add the fees to it, and then knocks it down to
on everything tax.
You have to if you're going to add a half a star, Mike. That's going to increase your taxes on this rating.
Damn it! All right, take it out of my Patreon bill. That's fine. And that's going to wrap up another episode, my friends. We are done for this week. What did you guys think of The Sunmakers? Definitely would love to hear from you guys. Tell us what you guys think of it. Please write us feedback@ourstationwho.com. Definitely would love to hear from you guys. On behalf of myself, of course, Mike Faber, Mr. Mike Gordon, we are going to be up at South Carolina Comic-Con this weekend. So, Mr. Mike, what is your table so people can find you?
I will be at table 224.
Awesome. I'll be at table 325. And I will be there, and you could stop by, talk Doctor Who. And I remember last year at the con, there was someone who had a really amazing Peter Capaldi costume. He looked pretty interesting stuff. So it should be pretty cool with that. So, definitely check us out. We will be there all weekend, and, stop by, say howdy, and definitely would love to see you guys. And Mary, of course, sadly, you will not be with us for this con.
Sadly, I will not be there.
But where can people find you?
You can find me at maryogle.com or on Etsy at eVisionArts.
Excellent. Excellent. Okay, folks, we are done for this week. If you want to check out older episodes of Earth Station Who, just go to either the ESO website, which is esonetwork.com. We go all the way back to episode 1 on that site. Or you can go for Earth Station Who. You can definitely check us out, earthstationwho.com, for more recent episodes. It's a lot of fun. We couldn't do this without you. Please, feedback wherever you listen to it. Thumbs up, wherever, 5 stars. Whatever you could do, give us good ratings. We really would appreciate it. And till next time, we will see you here on Earth Station Who. Peace, and we are done. Boom.
You have been listening to Earth Station Who, a bi-weekly pop culture podcast dedicated to all things Doctor Who, featuring talents from across the universe. All topics on the show are the sole opinions of the individual and are used for entertainment value alone. You subscribe to our podcast up on iTunes, Stitcher, or follow our blog at www.esopodcast.com. You can also follow us up on Facebook, Twitter, or Google+. If you enjoyed the show, please leave feedback up on iTunes.
This has been a broadcast of the ESO Network. Be part of the crew and help support our shows by donating to our ESO Patreon or by shopping at the TeePublic store, which can all be found at www.esonetwork.com. The ESO Network, your station for all things geek.